Okay, so me and my buddy Darvin, we're about to go to the party for Sika, and we're also gonna
24 minutes.
talk a little bit of something. Darvin, say hello to the people on the YouTube channel.
What's up, YouTube?
My buddy, we finna hit a gig. So anyway,
Listen to my brother Curt drop knowledge.
he wanted to talk to me a little bit about Amenhotep, and I'm gonna tell you something, brother. What you did when you asked me that almost changed my whole. What I found out, what I realized about Amenhotep was something I really needed to hear, because I hadn't thought about him in 4 years. But he's the first person that had a state that declared a state-run monotheism.
Wow.
You know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
One God.
Come to realize, I'm a monotheist.
Wow.
That's what I am. I keep saying I'm non-religious. Now I have a religion to own up to. I could be a monotheist, one God. Now Christianity is not a monotheist. They think they
says go this way.
Oh, they don't go. Oh, well, they don't. I'm hitting the freeway.
Okay, you know what you're doing. Okay. So you know where you're going.
I don't call Christianity a monotheism because in the book of Genesis, in the first chapter, it says, we shall make man in our own image. So that's plural. Then you got the Father, Son, Holy Ghost thing going on, which is also plural. You know what I mean? So the one God thing is me. That's what I'm all about. So here's the thing about the book that I wrote. If you can go to YouTube and find out anything you want about these people. The thing about it is I tried to write some stuff that is not on YouTube. It's not in those books. So I had a source that was out of this world, man. I had a source that was, it was a book that was banned for like 80 years.
Wow.
And they didn't want anybody to. That's why I know so much about Hermes. This book tells you what Hermes was doing when he wasn't here.
Wow.
See what I'm saying?
Damn.
This is like Hermes in heaven stuff. And so, according to this book, the whole Egyptian Exodus thing was a whole nother story. It was a situation where they said the gods in heaven, which were actually the Anunnaki, were going to war against the Atlanteans. And also, the Anunnaki was being represented in Mesopotamia. And the Atlanteans were being represented in Egypt. So they say it's the first time that gods used terrestrial beings, humans, to fight a war for them.
Wow.
Because the reason for the Exodus, according to my notes, was that they needed those people, the Hebrew Israelites, to come out of Egypt to attack the walls of Jericho.
To attack the walls?
The walls of Jericho.
What? They needed them to come out.
And we know the walls of Jericho got blown up.
Right.
So that war did occur. So my sources are saying it was the Hebrew Israelites that were basically taken out of Egypt to fight that war.
Wow.
So that's a whole lot different than Pharaoh trying to escape Egypt in a flood, and the water splitting and all that drama. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
So they really can't get an accurate chronology on when Moses actually lived. It wasn't like in the movie, that's for sure. He didn't work for a pharaoh. He didn't live with a pharaoh.
Okay.
So he was either at the same time as Amenhotep II, which was Amenhotep IV's grandfather, or he was one of the priests with Amenhotep, the one you're talking about, the fourth.
Right,
It is my opinion that my research led me to understand that there were only two exodus out of Egypt. One was a Minoan volcano that destroyed all this stuff near the Persian Gulf and came this way. That was an exodus. And then it was the exodus of Amenhotep IV. What Amenhotep IV did, his grandfather built the greatest dynasty Egypt had ever seen, the 18th dynasty. They owned everything. I'm talking about, and the reason they got so rich was because every year the Nile River would flood. And all the settlement would come in, and they were able to grow anything over there. So people would come from all over the world just to buy spices and all this other stuff from the Egyptians. Okay. That's how they got wealthy. Every year the Nile would flood, then all the riches would come. So this cat had an army that was so big, it stretched all the way to Mesopotamia. The reason they call these things dynasties, 18th dynastic period, is every time somebody comes in and conquers them and takes over, it's a new dynasty. Yeah. Cleopatra was number 30.
Number 30?
She was the last one. There was no more dynasties after her. It was over. She went to war against her brother. She and her brother were fighting, so that's when she escaped to Rome to try to get Caesar to help her kick her brother's ass. Yeah. And that's how Alexander the Great ended up taking over and all that stuff. So getting back to Amenhotep, the pyramid priests were in charge of all the knowledge that they had learned from Hermes. And they were wealthy. The pharaohs were wealthy. The next wealthy people were the pyramid priests. I mean, they was balling. You know what I mean? So when Akhenaten came along, he fired all of them. He said, you don't have a job no more, because guess what? We worshiping one God and forget all that stuff y'all talking about. So you can imagine how mad they were at him. They all lost their gigs. He fired everybody. Started tearing down the temples and everything. And so the kind of history on him was that his daddy was powerful, and he had a son, named Amenhotep, and a mother named Queen T. Amenhotep was a freak. He was weird. He's like this weird son that didn't fit in. He was different. He was like, what's wrong with him? Just different, So his big brother was going to be the king. But his big brother died. So his mother said, you know what? I want my boy, Akhenaten, Amenhotep IV and Akhenaten is the same person. I want my boy, Amenhotep IV, to be the king, but he's so weird. If I could hook him up with the right kind of chick, then. So he went and got she was probably a cousin. So, but she was royalty too, Nefertiti. So she goes and gets Nefertiti to hook up with her boy. She figures a union between the two of them could make them powerful enough to take over. And so that's what happened. Nefertiti became the queen. Amenhotep IV became the king, and he ruled for 17 years. But his thing was he was cool for 5 years, and then all of a sudden he fired all the priests. And he said, we are not worshiping the god deities that has been going on forever. There's only one god deity. And the reason I'm into him now is because the way I describe the creator is the creator's in everything. So what he was saying, the energy from the creator comes from the sun. Now, he lived a long time ago, so he doesn't know science as well as we may know today. However, you're familiar with how plants grow.
Right, yeah.
How the photosynthesis and all that.
Photosynthesis.
Okay, yes, the sun beats up on carbon dioxide and it creates cellulose and the minerals in the ground. That's how plants are created. So basically, the sun is the reason why everything is here. And all the stars in the sky are miniature suns, big suns actually. They're bigger than ours. So if the creator wants to create anything, he creates stars and suns, and they do their job. So if Amenhotep is worshiping the sun, that's the same thing as what I'm trying to do.
Same thing.
It's just a different version of it, but it's the same source. But what he did, was something that a lot of leaders do. He got a little arrogant with it. He said that we're worshiping the Aten, the sun god Aten. However, in order to get to him, you got to come through me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got to come through me if you want to talk to the big chief. And so, you know, they all get a little narcissistic when they get kind of powerful like that. So he created this template pyramid text that had a sun disk and all these arms going down to it with a hand leading to him. You know, so he didn't want to live in Thebes, in the royal city anymore, because it was not good enough for him. So what he did was he went up the Nile River and he was traveling and he saw these two mountains and the sun came right up between these mountains, man. And he said, boom, this is it. I'm going to build my new temple right here in the city he called Amarna. Now, here's the cool thing about it, man. This is the whole trip about Egypt. 100 years ago, they didn't believe none of that stuff about Egypt. The fact that the pharaohs were buried with all the treasure, nobody believed that because they never found none. There are no pharaohs in the pyramids. There was no gold to be found nowhere, so all the stuff looked like a bunch of bull. Egyptians didn't have no money, man.
So all that about Solomon's gold that everybody was searching for and all that?
Solomon's on the other side.
Okay.
You know, so he's over, you know. He had that, but there was no gold to be found in Egypt. Because these people the truth is, they were burying all the gold with the pharaohs because the pharaohs believed they could take it to the afterlife.
Yeah.
Do you really think them people that buried that stuff, let that stuff stay underground? Man, they robbed everything. They took, okay, we're going to bury it, but we're going to come back. They were competing to see who's going to be the first to come back and steal all of it.
Wow.
They wasn't going to leave, you know, so they never found any gold anywhere at any time, you know, and so they said, we don't even believe this Egyptian stuff with all this. That's a bunch of bull. That's just on the walls. It didn't really happen. So back in the 40s, one of the museums was doing an excavation. They were trying to find this stuff. And so basically they had these Egyptian workers. So there was a young boy. So he was off work, so he went walking out there on the desert, you know, minding his own business or whatever. So finally, his foot falls into a hole. And he's like, no, there's a hole here. So he tries to look down into the hole. He can't see anything, right? So he runs back and tells the guy that is, you know, doing the whole, you know, hey, there's a hole out there. So they said, really? There's a hole? What is a hole doing out in the desert? You can't have a hole in the desert. You know, and so they went out there to check it out, man, and they stuck a light down in the hole. Guess what was in the hole?
What?
The tomb of Tutankhamun.
Oh, okay.
And so when they went down there, all the gold was down there.
Wow.
But what made it so crazy, Tutankhamun was only a king for like 5 years and he was a boy. It's like, wait a minute.
He died at 19.
Yeah, so if they left all this to him, you can only imagine what the real kings had, but it just got ripped off. Nobody paid any attention to Tutankhamun because it's like, hey, we don't want this little shit. I went to see Tutankhamun's, everything in his tomb.
You did?
Yeah. When it came to L.A.
Oh.
Yeah, it came to L.A. It was at a museum right by the La Brea Tar Pits.
By La Brea, right.
Yeah, you remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah,
that was in the 90s, too.
Yeah,
I remember. I think I went, too.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was in the 90s.
Yeah, it was like, I had to go see this because I didn't know I was going to be doing all this. But,
right. I couldn't believe it.
So that's what made him start to be, wait a minute. If this dude had gold like this, you know his daddy had what they said he had.
Right.
You know, and so they found the whole area, they called it K2. So they found his chamber and all these other chambers, you know. So now the thing about Amenhotep, he built a city outside called Amarna. But after about 7 years of that, they got him, man. They don't know what happened to him or his people. Because he took thousands and thousands of people out of Egypt to build his city. So that's who they're thinking of the Hebrew Israelites. It was the workforce of Amenhotep because they wasn't welcome back.
So you're saying that the Israelites were basically the Egyptians that came out of Egypt?
Came out of Egypt. The followers of... There's two stories. One of them has to do with the Ten Commandments, where they was running from the Pharaoh for no reason, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense because here you are working in Egypt, and somebody's telling you he went and got some tablets that said go walk out onto a desert for 40 years. Who walks out onto a desert for 40 years and don't know what's out there? Because God said so. You know, I mean, God who? And then the Ten Commandments, you heard what they said? They already, Moses killed somebody on his way up there, so he already broke that one.
He said
he did. Yeah, that's what he know. He killed the dude before he got up there. Thou shalt not kill, steal. That's just common sense stuff. You know what I mean? So you go all the way up there. So in my book, the version has it where Enlil is the one that did that. Enlil is the one that got it. They scared the people and caused a plague and did all this to frighten them into going over to out there and fighting that war for them. That's in my book. But the Ten Commandments is they was running away from the Pharaoh because they were slaves and tired of it, which I doubt. You got a parting of a Red Sea and all this stuff going on, which could have happened too with the help of Hermes, because they had spaceships, you know. So if you know, so anyway, getting back to the story, they tore down Amenhotep IV, who's now called Akhenaten. They tore down his whole city and took the blocks all the way back to their other cities and rebuilt stuff. They were able to find the blocks from his place, computerize, notate all this stuff, and rebuild his city on a computer. That's how they know Amenhotep really existed, because he was erased. They tore down all his pictures. They got rid of everything that would remind anybody of him, because they were trying to erase him. The pyramid priest was like, "Well, we want our jobs back." Could you imagine how they was living? You know, you had the pharaoh and the priest, and they were like the baddest. They was pimps, you know, and all they had to do was keep the order. You know, so yeah, that's pretty much the story. They were able to piece back Amenhotep's city. Amen. They can't find no trace of Akhenaten. No trace, nothing. So that's pretty much the story of him, man. He was a different kind of cat. He didn't believe in looking like they wanted him to look. All the pharaohs were built, muscles, in shape. This dude had a pot belly, and he had hips, and he had boobs. So they're thinking he had that illness, gynomasculia, you know. But at the same time, coming from his standpoint, what Akhenaten was saying, I don't care what y'all say, I'm me, and you ain't nothing you can do about it. And, you know, I'm the bomb. Shit, I look like I look at this thing over here.
Look at that traffic, huh?
I'm talking about behind it. Have you been back there lately?
Oh, that over there?
Yeah.
No.
That's the space shuttle right there that they're building. I didn't even know that.
Is that exposition?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's where I wrote my book.
Okay.
I was working security for a senior citizens place on Vermont, and across the street was a construction site, and they were building something that was such a trip to me. You know, one of my favorite shows was Star Trek. Right across the street from the senior citizen, they're building the Starship Voyager. I mean, real life size.
They're building it now?
Yeah, it's almost finished.
Oh, man.
Supposed to been finished.
What?
It's called the George Lucas Interpretive Art Museum.
Oh, okay.
But it's shaped like it's
Shaped like the Starship Enterprise.
Voyager. Not Enterprise, Voyager.
Voyager.
The one with the female.
Right. Okay.
So any idea where we get off?
You say?
Yeah, we're doing good, man. We having a lecture and
let's see. Oh man, it's Harbor Freeway. James M. Wood Boulevard, 4th. So 1.7 miles.
okay, so it's on the other side over there, past downtown.
Yeah.
Okay, might be able to move over a little bit because these cars are going. Yeah, this camera thing's working out. I got intimidated with this camera stuff when, you got to transition from the camera to my computer. And that works fine with iPhones, but how do you do it with an Android phone? So what you do is you download it to the hard drive and then email it.
And then email it to you? Okay.
Yeah, so I just figured that out.
Okay.
So,
but you don't you have to change it to an MP4 file? Or
Yeah.
Right. You just change the file, and then so you can take Android as long as you put it in there, and because MP4 files will transfer.
okay. I just know I did it. That thing at the gym when I was lifting.
Right.
Yeah, that's whatever it takes. So I just got to get used to doing it.
So one day you told me that the reason like a lot of the statues are missing a lot of the lips and nose had nothing to do with race. You said it was because of what did you tell me it was because of? Why, like the Sphinx is missing, a lot of the features.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the statues are missing.
Well, the thing about Hermes is the one. He's the first one. It was supposed to be a lion head.
Yeah.
And Hermes, this is the part that's going to sound incredible because this was before there was any humans walking around.
Right.
Hermes, according to my book, took his machine and put his face on there. And it was bad because, Hermes said, shit, I'm in charge of this. And so he put his head on there. And since then, they changed it from his head because they was using a machine to do it. They've done all kinds of scientific impressions on their computer analyzed stuff, and they couldn't figure out any way humans could even make the faces that balanced.
Right.
So a computer can. According to Hermes, they had one that built all the pyramids and everything else. So that's the story we're trying to stick to.
Okay.
So what's it look like we're gonna do?
0.7 miles. James M. Wood Boulevard.
Okay.
4th Street.
Right.
Say you're only 4 minutes away.
Right there.
subscribe and push the like button.